So I probably know most of you, but just in case, I'm John Sullivan, and I'm a chair of DLA Piper's U.S. Real Estate Practice and the co-chair of our Global Real Estate Practice and Sector. And on behalf of myself and our U.S. Real Estate Practice Group Vice Chairs, Rich Clowder and Barbara Trachtenberg, and my U.S. Real Estate Sector co-chair, Kerry Johnson, I'm absolutely thrilled to invite you and welcome you to our 17th DLA Piper Global Real Estate Summit. And I'd also like to just call out a welcome to our DLA partners who have traveled from various corners of the world to be with us today. Thank you very much. And in particular, Sushila Rivers from Hong Kong, who's my Global Real Estate Sector co-chair. So many of you probably know that our last Global Real Estate Summit was, because of the pandemic, done virtually. And although it was a success, I just have to pause and say how absolutely great it is to be here in person in this room with all of you. So thank you very, very much for coming. You know, one of the many things that I love about commercial real estate is I think that despite its size and its global scale, it's still in many ways a relationship-driven business. And you can't create and you can't sustain relationships without being together in person. And many of you in the room have been clients and friends of DLA for years, some of you for multiple years, and some of you for decades, and actually, you know, probably many of you for multiple decades. And I just want you to know that we all very much value those relationships. I'm sure if you can appreciate putting on a program like today takes the proverbial village. So just before we start, I want to take a moment to thank a few of the people who have worked incredibly hard to put this together, and then I'm going to ask you when I'm done to join me in a round of applause for all of them. So first, our Summit Planning Committee, Paul Shadle, Barbara Trachtenberg, and Jay Epstein. They have day jobs, they have night jobs, and then somehow they managed to plan this event. Second, our very talented and hardworking real estate marketing director, Kathleen Genowick. And last, but by no means least, and it's a name most of you have heard many times before if you've attended our events, it's our superstar event planner, Joy Carlson, and her team. So please join me in a round of applause for these people. So to help set the stage for the programs today, we're releasing our Real Estate State of the Market survey. This is a survey that we think sheds light on how real estate industry leaders view the current state of the market and attendant risks and opportunities. You can find the survey online. There are hard copies here as well if you want a hard copy. At the back of the survey, you'll also find some data that we at DLA have pulled together showing trends that we've seen in the over 3,000 transactions that we handled last year, many of them for those of you in this room. So there's a lot of, I think, interesting and informative information in the survey. So take a look at it. I'm going to hit just a few highlights of the survey for you now. So first, what's the overall sentiment of the survey? You know, the survey was taken in February and March. And so despite concerns about rising interest rates, inflation, the impact of remote working, and the war in Ukraine, the survey shows an overall positive outlook. About 73% of the survey respondents said they're bullish for the upcoming 12 months. And although that's roughly consistent with the bullish sentiment in our last pre-pandemic survey, there is a greater amount of bullishness. In other words, the bulls are a bit more bullish now than they were in the survey that we took before the pandemic. And what accounts for that optimism? So the main reasons given for the optimism by the bulls are an abundance of investment capital, strong fundamentals for many asset classes, and a generally positive outlook for the U.S. economy. But, you know, as I said, the survey wasn't taken that long ago, but things are changing fast. Everybody knows that. If you just watch the news this morning, the war in Ukraine, unfortunately, doesn't seem to be getting closer to an end. and we've got the Fed, walking the tightrope of trying to ratchet up interest rates enough to tame inflation, but not do it so much that they tip us into a recession. And I'm sure that our speakers and panelists throughout the day are going to be able to shed light on all of those topics. Second, where to invest. The survey reflected a pretty dramatic increase in the number of respondents who believe that the best investment opportunities lie in the non-gateway markets. And we were seeing this trend before the pandemic, but you all know that the pandemic kind of accelerated a number of trends that were already occurring, and I think that this is one of them. So the top 5 markets for investment, according to the survey respondents, are Austin, Raleigh-Durham, Nashville, Phoenix, and Miami. And then on the other side of the coin, some of the traditional hubs like Los Angeles, New York, and San Francisco moved a bit down in the rankings. Third, what matters to the survey respondents? They identified the following things as likely to have a material impact on the market for the upcoming 12 months. Probably no real surprises here. I'll tick through them pretty quickly. Inflation and related increasing construction and development costs, rising interest rates, their implications of remote work, supply chain issues, labor constraints, and fallout from the war in Ukraine. So speaking of remote working, when asked what percentage of workers in urban areas will be back in their offices consistently a year from now, 47% of the respondents predicted about half of the urban workers will be back consistently a year from now. Only 2% of the respondents thought that roughly everybody will be back to the office consistently a year from now, so only 2%. And then when asked when office vacancies will get back to pre-pandemic levels, 34% said 2 to 3 years, an equal percentage, so another 34% said 3 years, and 20% said never. Fourth, where's the money? When asked what kind of investors are going to be most active this year, our respondents ranked private equity number 1, followed by domestic pension plans and endowments, and then non-U.S. investors, including sovereign wealth funds. And then finally, when asked what are the most desirable asset classes for investment this year, the results were logistics, multifamily, life science, and data centers. So I've really just skimmed the surface. There's a lot of information in the survey, so I do urge you to take a look at it. If you have any questions about it, you can ask me or Barbara Trachtenberg or Paul Shadle. If you don't have our contact info, it's in the survey. Okay, so we are emerging, or hopefully we're starting to emerge, from the most serious global pandemic in over 100 years. We're all attempting to predict how the most serious conflict in Europe since World War II, the highest U.S. inflation rate in about 40 years, the upcoming midterm elections, the lockdown of the world's second largest economy, and other political and geopolitical challenges and changes are going to impact the markets, create challenges, and create opportunities for all of you. And in this environment, I can't think of a better way to open our program than a wide-ranging conversation between David Rubenstein and David Axelrod.